So next I'm going to do is to add the particular news into the database when we click the news. Okay. So for that I am going to take the home component, and here I'm going to define a new function that is add news, an arrow function. So next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take the setup.js file and I'm going to import a function from Firebase Firestore. So the function that I'm importing is get Firestore from Firebase Firestore. After that, I'm going to define a variable. So I'm going to give the name of the variable as database, and I'm going to assign this get to Firestore into this database, and I'm going to give this app as an argument into this get to Firestore. Next, I'm going to export this file for using it in other files. Okay. So next, I'm going to take the home component again, and here I am going to use the setDoc function from Firebase. So we have to import that setDoc function from the Firebase Firestore. From Firebase Firestore. Okay. So next, I'm going to give the async await setDoc. After that, I'm going to give the try catch, and I'm going to give console.error. Then I'm going to pass this setDoc inside this try. So actually, I'm going to do is to create a new collection for adding the details of the news. So when we click this news, we have to add the collection. So for that, I'm going to define a new variable. So I'm going to give the name of the variable as news doc, and I'm going to use the doc function from Firebase. And as a first argument, I'm going to pass the database that we have already defined in the Firebase setup.js file in our project. So I'm going to import that database from Firebase slash setup.js file. So next, as a second argument, I'm going to pass the name of the collection. So I'm going to give the name of the collection as news. So as a third argument, we have to pass a particular ID. So first of all, I'm going to log the news state here. So now you can see that I'm going to take the console, and in the console, you can find that here is each news, and each news contains details such as title, content, description, etc. But there is no particular ID. You can see an ID here, which is a null. So you can see that there is no particular ID. So I'm going to use this end portion of the URL as the ID. Okay. So for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this console, and I'm going to call this add news in the on click of this link, and I'm going to use this data from here as an argument. So I'm going to pass that data as an argument here, and we can take that as a parameter to this function data itself, and next I'm going to use that as a third argument. So here in the backtick, I'm going to give as data.url. So I'm going to use the last portion of that URL. So I'm going to give substring method, and I'm going to give -10, 10. Okay. So next I'm going to do is to give this news doc into setDoc, and this title and a description. So we will get the title, that is data.title, and a description data.description, as like this way. So next what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this one of the news. At that time, a new collection will be created with the title and description in this database. So I'm going to click one of the news here. So we will be redirected to this news details section. So here you can see that I'm going to take the database. I'm going to refresh the database. At the time, you can see that a new collection is created in the name news. that we have already given there the name of the collection here as a second argument. And here you can see the ID of the document that we have given as the third argument. Okay. So next you can see that there is field such as description as well as title. Okay. So we have added a new collection and a document. Next, I am going to give a button here in the comments component after input field. So for that, I am going to take a Tailwind CSS button. So I'm going to search for Tailwind CSS button. And here I am going to click on this first link and we will be redirected to this section. So here I am going to use the basic first button that's showing here. So I'm going to copy this code and to paste after input field. I'm giving here add. Okay, so now you can see the structure as like this way. Then next I'm going to do is to wrap this input field and button by using a div. And I'm going to give a class name for the div that is flex. So now you can see that the structure of the input field and button is like this way. So next I'm going to give a style for the button that is margin left to 2. Okay, then I'm going to bring some changes to the button in the style. So I'm going to change this hover to slate the color. Next I'm going to change the background color. So here you can see that this is the background color. I'm going to copy the background color from the input field itself and I'm going to paste it in the button. Okay. So now you can see that this is the background color of the button as of now. So I'm going to give the color for the text of the button. So I'm going to copy this text color from this input field and I'm going to paste it here. So now it is changed as like this way. So next I'm going to do is I'm going to give as text small and I'm going to remove this font bold. So now you can see that this is a structure. Okay, fine. So next I'm going to copy this border style completely and to paste it here. Okay, fine. So next I'm going to change the color of the text slightly. Then next I'm going to add a comment to the database. So for that I'm going to define a new function in the comments component. So here I'm going to define a new function called add comments, which is an arrow function, and I'm going to use the add doc function from the Firebase as like this way, and I'm going to give the async await and try catch. So next I'm going to do is to give console.error and I'm going to pass this add doc into this try as like this way. So next I'm going to do is I'm going to define a new variable that is news collection. So here what I'm going to do is to create a new sub collection here with the name comments. Okay. So for that what I'm going to do is I'm going to define a new variable that is news doc and I'm going to use the doc function from the Firebase. So first I have given database as the argument and second I have given the name of the collection that we have already created. The next we need the ID. So I'm going to take this ID from the news details as the props. So I'm going to pass it as URL that is location.state.data.url. Okay. So next I'm going to take it as props in the comments component as like this way and I'm going to use that props here. So in the backtick, I'm going to use the props.url dot substring minus 10 comma 10. Okay, so now we have got the ID of that particular news. Then next I'm going to define the comments rough, which is equal to, I'm going to use the collection component, collection function from the Firebase, and inside this collection I'm going to pass this news doc as the first argument and the name of the new subcollection as the second argument, that is comments. So now you can see that I'm going to pass this comments rough as an argument into this add doc, and as a second argument we have to pass the comments. So I'm going to define a new state, that is comments, set comments, and I'm going to pass the empty string. Then next I'm going to use the set comments in the on change of the input field, and I'm going to pass e.target.value by taking the event. Okay. So next I'm going to do is I'm going to call the function, that is add comments, in the button, on click of the button add, and after that I am going to use the comments here. Okay, so now I am going to add a comment as like this way, and I am going to click on the add button. So at that time you can see that when I refresh the page, a new subcollection has been created with the name comments, and it contains the documents with the fields comment. Okay, so we have added the comment into our database. It is fine. So next I am going to change the hover color, background color. So here I am going to reduce this as like this way. Okay, fine. So we have added the comment. Okay, comment. Okay.